Hello again, welcome back to Broforce. Now we're going to be continuing in Hawaii. I had something and then I just kind of lost it. I was gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna be going to Hawaii. We're gonna kill some aliens, but I don't know. I just kind of tip of tongue. Ah. So let's see. If I can get that guy to turn around. There we go. It's actually a little bit weird because I'm trying to remember some of the things we talked about last time. But for for people who don't know, a lot of series, you kind of record them intermittently. Even if you're going to upload them all at relatively the same time, you still kind of have a little bit of time between recording. So, for this, for example, between the last episode, it's been 3 days for me. A lot of times I'll try to do series like all in a go. So you get less of a gap between them. Because that just seems to kind of be the better way to go about things. That way, well, you can keep up with more. You can keep up with what's going on, and it makes it a lot easier to remember, like, what you said in previous episodes and whatnot. That is so weird. I just had an awkward frame tank. But yeah, so as I was saying, I don't actually remember. Like, I kind of remember some of the basic stuff we were talking about. The whole. I kind of gave an update in the first episode, and I was talking about, like, hey, what are some New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, but. Well, that was just a bad shot in general. So for this episode, I'm gonna get a little bit more selfish. I'm going to be a little selfish, and why don't y'all tell me what y'all want to see? I kind of recall bringing up something to this extent in one of the previous episodes, kind of like a call for requests and whatnot. But more than just requests, like, of course, if you want to request specific games or videos or something, you can feel free to do that pretty much on almost all of the channels. Or almost all of the channels. Yeah, if you want to request that I play a specific game, feel free to do so on just any YouTuber's channel. I probably won't get to it unless it's on my channel specifically. But I mean, if you want to talk to me on other people's channels, no, actually, don't do that. That would actually probably be really spammy. I'd probably get blocked by like a lot of big guys. But no, feel free to leave it in almost any of my videos. But more than just like requests for games, like what are styles you'd like to see? And that was a bad choice right there. Do you prefer me when I do long form? Do you prefer short form? Because I know this kind of sounds stupid a little bit, but I actually prefer doing long form content than short form. Yep, let's restart that. that was sad. But yeah, as I was saying, I actually prefer long form to short form content. Which is kind of hellacious on my upload times and whatnot. But I'd much prefer a like I just enjoy making longer videos than I do shorter videos, or more than I do shorter videos. And there's a handful of reasons actually. When I do short videos, like these aren't exactly short, but they're kind of shorter than my average. I'd say. I do kind of feel like there's a little bit of a rush to be like, okay, your videos are only going to be 10 minutes long, so you should get whatever you want to say out in 10 minutes. And there's that kind of a rush that'd be like, oh, well, for this one I said that I was going to try to get videos between about 20 and 30 minutes. So, like, sometimes there's a little bit of a... I wouldn't want to say a stress, but on some of the longer form video, or some of the longer missions, there's kind of a implication that if I'm taking too long, that I'm kind of screwing up. And it's like that's kind of something I don't like. Yeah, it is a little bit of a stressor, but more than being a stressor, it's kind of just one of those. I prefer, especially in games like this, I prefer being able to kind of take my time with them. It's like, yeah, I don't claim to be like really good at any of these. Like I'm no Gosu level Broforce player. Anybody who's seen any of my content can pretty much account to that. Really? Okay, let's just agree bad choices all around. Really? Screw it, just go through here. That was bad. I seem to be out of practice as well. I mean, it's only been like a couple of days. What the hell? But no, as I was saying, I am trying to get this to be a little bit more. Well, as I've said multiple times, I'm trying to get it to be a little more professional, a little more viewer friendly. And one part of that is making videos that y'all want to watch. Now, of course, I mean, as I've stated multiple times, to me, a lot of this is personal. Like, even if nobody watched, I'd still be making most of my videos just because it's something I enjoy doing. But if it's something small, like something is like, oh well, yeah, could you, instead of making hour-long videos, could you make 10-minute long videos? Because it's a lot easier to justify 10 minutes out of my day than 2 hours out of my day. Or at the same time, maybe somebody's going to be like, hey, yeah, do you think there'd be a way that you could actually do something like a, just once a week, like, not an every day, but like a once a week, hour-long or 2-hour-long video? Like, yeah, just a podcast-style thing. Or kind of podcast-style, I guess would probably be closer. But just like one of those, a long-form video every once in a while. Although that one probably, unless I actually was doing like a podcast, would probably be a little harder to, or a little less likely to be requested. Yeah. I guess Machete's a pretty good bro for this boss. Terror Crawler! He goes up. Let's see. Very similar to other worm bosses, if you can get a grenade in that mouth, he will swallow and it will do bonus damage. Unlike other worm bosses, it doesn't one-shot him, as you can see. Although, unlike other worm bosses, well, I think unlike other worm bosses, I'm not sure if it does it for other worm bosses, but the grenade will still have its effect, or will still have a secondary effect if he swallows it. Well, that boss was an issue. That boss on hard mode is kind of one of those bosses that you feel like should be quicker to finish, but just isn't. Or at least that's kind of how I feel when I fight that one. Because it really is just kind of like a, well, this should be more straightforward, just shoot it, but that, I think it's mostly the acid, like, the acid vomit just kind of draws out the fight, because the acid is a little bit of an issue, but for the most part, the acid mostly just works as kind of a slow. Because while you do get caught in the acid a lot of times, the act of dodging the acid, being really extra super careful and dodging the acid, mostly just requires you to pay a little bit of attention and just jump at the right times. Jump at the right time, go the right distance, and just move. So it kind of feels more like a, oh, awesome, cherry. Wow, that was horrific. But yeah, as I was saying, it just kind of feels like one of those, it should be shorter type things. Or at least it feels like that, because the acid kind of feels like it just artificially extends the lengths of that fight. And I think that's kind of one thing I dislike about the whole acid mechanic as a whole, or the acid mechanic as a whole. Because it's fun. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the fact that, like, there are acid-based enemies. It's just the acid is really hard to, like, at least in my mind, the acid's really hard to justify a death by acid. Because there have been times where I've legitimately have no clue how I got, like, splashed. And it's like, well, that's acid, so you're dead. Now, there are some times like that one, like, if that had been a, if that explosion had been caused by, say, a bomb, I actually probably would have absorbed that damage there. Because when you're, like, when you're jumping around when jumping and shooting, damage from, like, explosives kind of propels you, and you kind of get a little bit of, I don't want to say immunity, but a little bit of resistance from some damage sources, like explosions. And acid just kind of ignores that. And, I mean, I guess it's probably one of those early adopter problems. That was just stupid, though. That right there was just stupid. Y'all saw that. But yeah, I'm guessing that's mostly an early adopter problem. Because if I played Broforce before there were aliens. So it's kind of one of those, like, well, yeah, before the alien existed, like, no, there was if you did this X action on this effect, it was very predictable what would happen. Which it should be. That's how physics works. It should take the same amount of shots to shoot through the same amount, or the same substance each time. Dirt should take, no matter how often you're digging through it, dirt should take the same amount of punches from your little Steve fist each time. And basically that should be true about most things. Metal should be just as hard to punch through the second time as it is the first time. And it's just kind of one of those, like, the explosion, like, acid just seems to be like an advanced, like, it basically just seems to be kind of like a fire effect. So it's kind of like a semi-advanced explosion. Or at least that's what it feels like it should be. But in reality, it's a completely different mechanic. But since it doesn't really match up with some of the other mechanics we've already had, it does have this awkward feeling of unfamiliarity, even though it feels like it should feel familiar. And that probably sounds really, really dumb, but yeah. Long story short, acid feels like it should react more like explosions. Like just the way it works in the game, it feels like it should be closer to like a normal explosion. However, acid doesn't react like an explosion, which really kind of sometimes just feels weird when you're dealing with it, because you're like, well, this is going to be kind of like an explosion. Especially when you have, like, because acid is the alien version of the explosions. That was bad. So you get this weird disconnect there. And for some reason, I just kind of have this feeling like if I hadn't started playing when I did, like if I would have waited till release to start playing, I wouldn't have that disconnect, because I wouldn't have that expectation of here's how an explosion works, versus before acid even comes around, versus now where I'm like, well, here's how explosions work, and here's how, or like it should be, here's how explosion works, and oh, here's how acid works. There we go. Oh wait, no, there's a boss fight after this. For some reason, I'm like, wait, wasn't that the end of the chapter? Be like, no, I have to finish the boss. I guess that's another one of those weird I played this for a while things, because there was a time where that was kind of like the end of it. Now, if you're going to play through this on your own, this little bit right here, you can actually just run through most of this. Like, if you just run through here, you'll get through here. It's not really an issue of something you actually have to worry about. Now, normally, or depending on which bro you get, one way to do this fight is to come up here and just dig through the gum matter in a manner similar to this, and to get here, and like right here, I can just mess this guy up, not a problem. However, the more normal way to do this is to kind of do this weird jump around and let the banelings hit, while also doing damage to said thing, or said boss, until it kind of disappears. And if you can get stuck in it, just be careful about getting stuck in the gummies, because actually I've got this. I should be fine here. If you get stuck in the gummy material, it will just straight up kill you. And if I die now because of that, I'm gonna feel really dumb. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, that boss is really... That boss is one of those, like, really, really hard, but also really, really easy ones. Because if you can get the right bro, you get up next to that heart. Like, when you saw when I was Neo, if I would have just done his dash up or down, boom, heart destroyed. But as you saw, like, with Ash, or not Ash, but, Ash, getting up in there, like, having to actually dodge around the banelings and the little alien acid grenades, they just... It becomes really difficult really fast, and it's a lot to kind of pay attention to. So it's kind of a luck of the draw, depending on which bro you get, which strategy you'd want to take. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode because we're about to go to Hell. And Hell will be the last mission, but it's also the longest mission. So, I'll see you there.